I had so much fun with these. I hope that you enjoy them. Let's get started with the first project. To start off, I'm using this sign that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. It was originally part of their classroom decor, and I got it on clearance for a 90% off. So I love looking at Hobby Lobby's clearance section, and this gave me a great base for a sign to work with. So all I'm doing is sanding down the front here just to dull it down, make the paint adhere, but also not need as many coats of paint by just getting rid of some of this color. So I'm just going to give that a pretty good sanding. I didn't go nuts with it, but I did do a pretty good sanding and then tap off the dust, clean that up with I think that was probably just like a damp paper towel. And then I did let that dry. And then we gave it a good coat of white chalk paint by Waverly. I think it's Snow White. I know I just showed it, but I already don't remember what it was, but just white. Chalk paint definitely covers a lot better than acrylic paint. I went on slow here at first because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do full coverage. I was showing you, I had a wild hair on the paintbrush that kept putting little streaks on my frame, and I really wanted to keep the wood frame as is. So anyways, I just trimmed that off. But I gave this a good coat of paint, and then I have this beaded garland. This was originally from Walmart. This was in my stash. I picked it up on clearance after Christmas, so I don't remember what I paid for it, but it was at least 75% off, and I got myself a lot of beads. So we are going to I cut off the tassel. We'll save that, and I'm going to pull off the beads. But this is a great way to do it if you find a really good deal on a beaded garland, and you can have some beads in your stash. But you can buy wood beads online and pretty much any craft store. So at first I wanted to use the small beads, and I'm trying to design a Christmas tree. So I'm just showing you, I realized this one's getting a little too wide. So I tried double stacking each layer being this 2 in a row with the same amount of beads, and that gave me a narrower tree, and I liked that better. But then I decided I was going to just try and use the large beads from the garland, and I liked that best, and it fit on my sign really well. So yeah, I was just kind of holding my sign over it. So just wanted to show you a little bit of the process. You know, you're going to be using slightly different items than I'm using if you recreate this. So just thought I would share that. Now, previously I had mixed up some green paint for a project, and this is what I had done with it to preserve it. This was probably 2 weeks prior. So just wanted to share that. You can cover it with plastic wrap, or I slid the plate in a plastic bag, and you can see the paint is not all dried up. So that was handy, and it was already in a bag. So I'm going to just coat my beads with paint this way. There are lots of ways of painting beads, but this is how I chose to do it. So I am just going to mix them up in there. Now, I'm going to show you how mine came out, and you can decide if you want to do it the same way or not. So I'm rolling them around, getting them coated really well. And then because I'm working in a makeshift craft space, well, it is my mom's craft space, but I don't have all of my normal things because we're preparing to move. I was just looking at what I had, and I was like, oh, well, I have this box here that I just pulled these beads out of. So I took the insert and I was taping it because I didn't want to get paint anywhere. But a box lid works really, really good for what we're going to do here, but I didn't have one handy. So once again, working with what we've got. So I'm very carefully as to not get paint all over. Mom, I did not get paint on your walls or your carpet. I just toss the beads in there and roll them around. Now this helps take off any clumps of paint so it's not gobbed on there and dries funky. So I did that, and then I just let this box dry. But rolling them around in a box lid also works really well. Now, these ended up being a little bit spotty where you could see a little bit of the wood bead, but I liked that look. So you do it how you like it. So this is another day. They're all drying, but I was trying to figure out, or they're all dried, I should say, because it does not take a couple days to dry. I was trying to figure out placement of my tree, so I was deciding on a trunk. This is just one of those wood pieces from the Dollar Tree. I also ended up not using the star, but I put the star at the top. I was just trying to decide where I wanted the placement of the tree. So I tried really, really hard to keep this centered. So I'm going to glue them. I am going to glue them where the opening to the bead is on the side so that it's not as like obvious. It's not as easily seen. So I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue on each one and hold it down. I didn't want to do too much because you don't want it like oozing out the sides or anything. And as I went along, after like a couple rows, I realized it was going a little bit crooked. So I corrected it, and I also bumped into the camera, but I corrected it by just kind of slowly shifting the other row over a little bit. In the end, it looks great, but just keep an eye on it, because as much as I tried to keep it centered going straight down, not all of the beads are exactly perfect in their shape. So anyways, this is my finished tree. We're going to add on the little wood piece, which is perfect because it looks like the trunk of a tree. And again, I'm using some hot glue to attach that to the bottom. Now, I thought about using a star at the top, but overall, I just felt like it just didn't look right, and it kind of made it disproportionate in like the way it looked on the sign. I decided to skip it, but that's how this one came out. You could hang this up or use it just like as a shelf sitter, or like a leaner sign, I think is what people call them. I love this one so much. I think this is going to be a great layering piece. It's simple, but it's very Christmassy or wintry. You can just leave it out for all of winter. This DIY is just going to be using a scrap piece of wood. I am sanding it down to smooth it out a little bit, but it's not going to be a perfectly smooth piece of wood. It's okay to use your scraps. I did try to round out the corners a little bit, like each of the corners, and the top and bottom, really just to make sure paint went on a little bit easier, but it does not need to be perfect. And then we're going to give this just one solid coat of white paint, maybe 2 coats if you're using acrylic paint. But I've seen so many little ideas like this. We're going to make a little snowman. Once that paint is all dry, we're going to go ahead and make our little snowman face. You don't have to be an artist for this. I'm using you'll be able to tell, obviously, I am not an artist, the end of a paintbrush to do the eyes and the mouth. And it was a little bit too small, so I kind of doubled back over it, and then they weren't perfect circles. It's all right. A little dotting tool that I have from Dollar Tree might have also been helpful, but if you want to try to get creative with your snowman face, go ahead and look on like Pinterest or something for just snowman faces. Get some ideas. And then I'm using a small paint brush to make my little carrot nose. The first one I had was not pointy enough, so it was hard to make my pointed carrot nose, but I just did it off to the side, just keeping the snowman face really simple. Let's not overcomplicate this. As it was, I kind of overcomplicated the eyes. At some point, you try to fix it too much, you can ruin it, so just let it be. Now, for our hanger, we're going to make this into a little ornament. I'm just taking this really thick rope, and we're going to tie that into a knot and trim that down. Then I'm going to take that knot and put a good, healthy amount of hot glue and just put that right on the top, and I'm going to hold that until that glue really sets up. You could also drill something in if you want, but I just was going to keep this one pretty simple. I propped my snowman face up on some scissors just to give me a better angle for looking at it without getting my head in the way. And I'm just trimming down some scrap pieces of greenery and berries. I keep all of the scraps in little bags, and we're going to use some tweezers to help us apply the little berries. But I just wanted to do a little embellishment on the snowman. I thought the greenery and the berries was cute, and this is really simple, very quick and easy to make. Would be a fun one to do with kids or just some girlfriends around, or just by yourself, whatever. But I love this one. Let me know what you think about this sweet little ornament. I think this one was really fun to make and very easy. All right, I'm cutting in for just a couple of minutes to share with you guys a great product that was sent to me. I have told you in my recent videos that we are in the process of moving. A company reached out to me, and it was perfect timing. So I decided to say yes, and I wanted to share it with you. I'm not sure how to say the name of this company, but I will have it on the screen for you. It is a global e-commerce company, and they have a variety of home organization products, and they had some things that would be really, really handy for our move as well as for after our move. And so I just wanted to share those with you and also thank the company for sending these to me. One of the first things I knew I wanted was these large storage bags. They're great for moving, but also for storage. I thought this bag would be perfect for our heated blanket that we have, because you have to be careful to not crimp or compress the wires inside of the blanket. Otherwise it can damage the blanket. So this bag is going to be perfect for transporting that and also storing it in our new home when it is not the winter season. And then the last item that I chose was this pack of clear storage bags. I think this would be really handy for some of my craft supplies. I've got lots of craft supplies that I need to take with us and pack up. And I did put a lot in boxes, but I had some odd shaped things that didn't fit in boxes. I wanted to try this bag out for some of those items, and man, the capacity inside of these is pretty great. As you see, I put a very large sign in there and lots of other crafting supplies, and there is still so much room left in this one bag, and it came with several in the pack. I'm really looking forward to doing another craft room organization with you guys when we move, and I think that some of these bags will be very handy for storing some of my items. I also want to say that they have some like drawer organizers and like other things on their from their product line as well. So I'm going to have some things linked down below, also a discount code for you guys. So make sure that you check that out. And that is going to be it for this little portion here. We're going to get back into some DIYs. This was another Hobby Lobby clearance find from St. Patrick's Day. I can't see the original price, but it was not much. So we're going to once again sand this down, make it easier to cover the green up. But I saw this and was like, well, this would be a cute little ornament. But I actually didn't make mine necessarily to be an ornament. It could also just be a little sign. It'd be cute on like a tiered tray. You don't have to even use the hanger. But we're going to sand it, wipe it down, and then I'm using my heat gun on the back to just take off these stickers. The heat gun just helps loosen up the adhesive, and it comes up super easy when you do it like this. Now I'm going to give this whole thing a coat of white paint. I am emphasizing on the frame because we are going to cover the center part, but I did end up putting some paint down there too, just to make sure if what we're covering with didn't go all the way to the edges or something, I didn't want any of the green popping through. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I enjoy sharing budget-friendly DIYs with you here on this channel. Please consider subscribing to my channel before you leave so you don't miss out on my future ones. All right, so now we are going to cut down. Well, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to rip it. I'm using this scrapbook paper. This is from Hobby Lobby, from one of those like smaller packs. And I was trying to, I knew there was a part like that I knew which portion of the paper I wanted to be using. So I'm just folding it back and forth so that I can get a nice tear to it. And then I do end up using scissors for the rest of it, however you want to do it, but you got to get it down to the right size to fit in the center square. I'm just using my fingernail to crease it, and then I will trim it with my scissors, which I was a little nervous about because I feel like I never get it straight. Even, I don't know. It was fine. It was totally fine. It fit in there nicely. Pop that out, and we're going to go in there with some Mod Podge and put that in there. So this is a thicker paper. It did not have any wrinkling, no worry whatsoever there. But I'm just going to give a good coat of Mod Podge and place that down into the center. I am using this little squeegee tool. This is from Plaid, and this is very, very handy. I'm kind of wiping off the excess Mod Podge that comes out as I scrape it, but this gets in the corners to make sure it's attached really, really well, and it works great. And then I have this little green sticker. Well, I pulled the sticker piece off of it, but this is a wood piece from Dollar Tree, and I loved the brightness of this, the sparkle. I just felt like it was a good contrast, but you can put whatever you want. You could paint that if you have something like that and it's just too bright for you, but I loved it. I thought this sign was so cute, so sweet, and very simple. And whether you hang it on a tree, on a little, peg or something, or just use it as a little sign. For this DIY, I'm starting out with a picture frame that I picked up at a thrift store for $1. You can pick them up obviously anywhere, or use one that you have laying around the house that maybe you're not using anymore. But I find them all the time at the thrift store, and often still wrapped in plastic and everything. But this one was in good shape. I like that it was a thicker frame. Anyways, we're just using that for our base of the DIY, I suppose. Right now, as you see, I am cutting out a Christmas tree. I'm just using a piece of computer paper to make a template, and I'm doing grade school style here. Well, I was having a hard time figuring out which angle to cut it, but just where you fold the paper in half, and then you only have to draw out one side, and it will be the same on both sides. So I just needed a Christmas tree template. You could also print one off, just off of the internet. And I'm needing it to fit. I'm using this cardboard piece from the frame just as my guide for how big it needs to be. So I was just trimming it down until it fit on the cardboard piece. And then we're just using this as our template to trace it onto something else. So, all right, yeah, so okay, I decided to use this fabric that I think I picked up from the Dollar Tree. And once again, I folded it in half and am cutting it out this way. So this was a little tricky. It would have been easier if I had my pins to like pin the paper to the fabric. I probably should have just borrowed some from my mom because I was crafting at her house, and that would have been easier. But it's okay. I made it work. And we have ourselves a little plaid Christmas tree. And then I wanted a backing for it, and I decided to just use some fabric. This is, I think, like a muslin fabric. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold right now. So I'm just going to glue this onto the cardboard piece, but you could always just paint the back of the frame, or you could just put a piece of cardstock, but I wanted this texture. Even though it's going to be behind glass, you can still see the texture through it. And so I'm just going to hot glue this around, pulling it tight. If you have a pattern fabric, just be careful when pulling it tight because you don't want to shift the pattern. And then I'm just going to use a tiny bit of hot glue here. I'm not worried about like gluing down every little corner because this is going to be behind glass, but I didn't want this to shift on me. So just a little bit of hot glue. I didn't want to do like anything too thick because I didn't want it to bubble up. And this isn't a perfect Christmas tree, but I like it. And this is a really super simple little DIY, and I'm just going to, I clean the glass and then I'm going to put this back in and put the back on our frame. And that is it for this one. I love how this came out. There's so many different colors and patterns, obviously, that you can do. You could also paint the frame if you wanted another pop of color, but I really liked this one and thought it was fun. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. I love making Christmas ornaments, so I thought I'd throw another one in this video for you. So I have two wood slice pieces. One has a hole in it and one does not. The one without a hole, I'm not sure where it came from. I think maybe a friend gave it to me. The one with a hole in it came from a pack from Hobby Lobby, I believe. The one was a little bit rough, so I sanded it down just a little bit to make the paint get on there better. And I'm going to do my best with a small paintbrush to paint the center of both of these. Now, if you have both of them that have holes in them, that'll be fine because you'll end up kind of covering that area up anyway. But I just have two, one that's slightly larger than the other because we're going to make ourselves a little snowman ornament. It might have been easier to take the string off, but I didn't, so I just painted around it. Then once those were both dry, I'm going in to paint my little snowman face. I'm using the end of a paintbrush and then the tip of a paintbrush to do the nose. I don't know if this is always the easiest way. I don't get perfect circles. You can do whatever you want. I realized afterwards my dotting tool may have worked better for this, and then I tried to clean up a little mess up, and then I ended up making it worse. But it's okay. You can always repaint. And I do. I end up cleaning that up. And then I'm just using a small tipped paintbrush to do the orange carrot nose. I'm just using some simple acrylic paints for these. Nothing fancy whatsoever. And you can see our little snowman is coming together. I thought the buttons were a little too small, so I went back and then I was like, you need to just stop before you mess it. So I did. Didn't want to mess it up. So I'm flipping my snowman over and I'm cutting some popsicle sticks to attach this. Now, the one was slightly not as thick as the other, so I just doubled up the popsicle stick in one place and that made the difference, and this will help hold our two pieces together. Now, I realize it would have been easier if I had done this before painting on the face, because it ends up being slightly crooked, which is fine. It's not like snowmen are like perfectly symmetrical. I don't know if you grew up in a place where there was snow, but making a snowman perfectly symmetrical is just not really likely. But I would attach it together before painting on the face if I were to do this again. So now I'm just going to take some ribbon. You can also use a strip of fabric, whatever you want to use for our scarf. And I'm just putting a little bit of hot glue in place to like tie it on there, so to speak, because I'm not really tying it just because of the shape and everything. It wouldn't really stay put. So I'm just using a little dabs of hot glue here and there to crisscross it and then attach it to lay the way that I want to make our little scarf. And then I'm going to just cut some little angles on the end of the scarf. And that is it. You could add on a hat or add on something else if you wanted to, but I decided to keep it pretty simple here. And I think this is a really cute ornament. It's going to make a great addition to my Christmas tree. All right, well, that is going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not yet subscribed, please consider doing so before you leave. After you hit the subscribe button, a little notification bell will pop up. Make sure to click on that and hit all so you don't miss out on my future videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.